Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para X.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being here with us. Those listening in the chat room and those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one. We got with us tonight Barbara Duncan.
Hello, everybody.
And Jeffrey Gould. Maybe. Jeff, you here with us? Oh, maybe he decided to go get a drink or something.
We got been abducted by aliens.
Yeah, that's what it was. Or some of them ghosts. So we got with us Tabby Cat Gasch. I'll get it right in a minute. I think.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here.
You're still here then.
Yep.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that you're still here with us.
Yep.
We kind of like talking a little bit tonight about the effects of COVID on the paranormal. And Gettysburg and Antietam, I doubt if they've been many groups coming in there trying to find places to investigate. Is most places kind of like closed down and not letting people do that?
Well, up in Gettysburg, they are still having a certain amount of ghost tours and I think a certain amount of investigations, although the crowds are a whole lot smaller than they used to be. And, because they want people to social distance and everything. Now, the outside activities, I'm sure that they still have a certain amount, but it's not the way it used to be. Of course, a lot of people just aren't really traveling. And the couple of times that I've gone down to Antietam, it seems that because Antietam is not quite the same thing as Gettysburg, where you have a lot of people down there for the paranormal, because they aren't exactly the biggest fans of having ghost tours and things like that. You can't even do that on the battlefield. You can do your own investigations, EVPs and that sort of thing on the battlefield at Antietam, but they don't allow ghost tours or anything like that. The spirit activity, especially at Antietam, the couple of times that I've been down there, it's almost as though the spirits are glad that people are finally coming back. It's like they are saying, where's everybody been? What's happened? Why haven't we been seeing so many people? Why aren't we being paid attention to? And it's kind of sad that they're pretty much in the dark about what's going on, why they're not getting the attention, why they're not getting the energy that they used to. And the people that are coming to, especially Antietam, they're going there for the history. They're not paying as much attention to the spirit world. But when I was down there, I guess 3 or 4 months ago with Craig and Darcy, the activity seemed to be very, how would you put this? It was almost tangible. Darcy and I both were able to pick up on so much energy everywhere we went. Now, Craig doesn't have the same sensitive feelings, but he definitely could pick it up. And it was almost as though they wanted to talk, they wanted to communicate, and are confused as to why people weren't there. So when Craig put his recorder down in that same location where we all were that time, you, Cat, Pat, and the others up there next to that one big cornfield area, Craig just walked around the corner from these bushes and put his recorder on the ground and came back, and we were very quiet. I guess he left it there for maybe about, not even 10 minutes. Went and got his recorder and came back, and you could hear a conversation like you would not believe between a couple of men. And you could hear one of them saying, "Are they coming back? Is he coming back? Are they going to listen?" It was kind of weird that they were curious to know, well, why did he just leave? Why did he put this thing down and walk away? They were wanting the interaction. So I think the energy and everything at places that normally would have a lot of people interacting with the spirits, and then suddenly they don't, the spirits have got to be just as confused as anybody else.
Well, those ghosts in the Haunted Mansion are probably very upset right now at Disneyland.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Places like that, oh, heck, any place that has a lot of live energy to it. Once a spirit seems to feed off of that energy and enjoy it, it's, just like an actor or a singer or any type of a performer that really gets excited being on the stage and hearing the applause and having people call out and everything. Spirits are the same way. If they're used to having that attention and then suddenly they don't get it, it's like, what did I do? What happened? What's wrong? And the spirit world, while I'm sure that they are aware of what's going on, places like Antietam and Gettysburg, where it's not in the same context because they are pretty much in a different time loop than most. They don't know what's going on. They're used to things like typhoid and scarlet fever and that sort of thing. But they're not used to this kind of thing where it's killing this many people. So they can't necessarily relate to it.
Well, I haven't seen, and I don't know where the victims of the 1918 flu ended up in San Francisco, but certainly they would be able to understand that from the flu standpoint.
Oh,
It would
yeah.
be interesting, yeah. To get, I guess it would almost sort of be, and I don't know whether spirits would have it, post-traumatic stress disorder. If they've already lived through that once, if they have it again.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Huh. Never really considered that possibility, but, well, you do still have memories even after you pass, so I'm sure that if the spirits are used to talking to someone on a regular basis and it doesn't happen and they can feel the tension and the negativity and everything else coming from the living that's around them, they've got to be feeling the effects of it. I mean, I don't understand why they couldn't.
I guess maybe that would be the difference between, say, like the battle reenactments at Gettysburg, because there's not a fear factor involved in it. They can relate to the reenactors, but there's no sense of panic.
Yeah, but yet they've got to be feeling it from the people now, because even
Sure.
if you're on vacation or you're just taking a break or something like that, you're still walking around with your shoulders up around your ears. You're still walking around with something in your mind because you're worried about a loved one or a friend or something like that. or you're stressed out because you've lost your job. That there's so much that's going through people's heads right now for various different situations that it's got to be projecting outward. I mean, because of, empaths, they're having a hard time being around people. And they're the ones that are suffering the worst right now because they're picking up on everybody else's energy, good or bad, but they're picking it up. And if they're not really capable of shutting that off, it's starting to affect them. And even if that empath hasn't lost their job or lost a loved one to COVID or anything like that, they're picking up on what everybody else is. So yeah, the spirit would definitely have to be able to pick up on the same things. And for spirits of those at battlefields, they've got to be able to at least relate to the kind of stress that we're going through. And of course, we can't relate to what they're going through unless you've been in the military and gone through battle. But they've got to be able to pick up on it just the same way that we're able to just pick it up just by being around, the living.
Oh, sure. There's also that there's some people that just cannot hold in their energy or emotions at all. So, I mean, they're just like walking radio beacons. And I can imagine those type of people right now would be driving most empaths nuts. Just
Yeah.
because they are just broadcasting panic and tension and anger and the whole 9 yards. And it's, I pity the people that get out there and try to tap into what's happening out there in the world on that plane. And they just must be, like recoiling and anger right now.
Well, somebody asked in the chat room that this past hour, can someone be ghost repellent? And I think probably what this person was asking was whether or not people can be non-sensitive to the spirit world in a sense that the spirits just don't want to talk to them. And I think that may just have to do with an individual's personality. I don't think it's necessarily that they repel a spirit or anything like that. It could just be their particular personality and how they might be going about trying to communicate with the spirit world. Because let's face it, those investigators that insist on going to a location, and when something doesn't immediately happen, they start getting aggressive, saying, all right, I know you're here. You got to be able to do this. You've got to be able to push on this or make this kind of noise or something like that. Come on, you got to be able to do it. You've done it for other people. Well, I'm sorry. If somebody walks into my house and demands that I talk to them, they're going to find a foot up their butt and out the door big time. I'm just not going to do it. So why would the spirit want to communicate with somebody that is just out and out being aggressive with them? Or it just could be that a person goes into a location with a totally closed mind altogether. I mean, they are so much of a skeptic that they go into a well-known haunted location, and you could have a door literally slam them in the face and break their nose, and they would still insist that there was a draft or something like that. And those kind of people, the spirit world would have a tendency to either do one of two things, either to totally ignore them, or they're going to mess with them, one or the other.
Sure.
And I think once I'm gone, there's going to be some people I'm going to have a heck of a good time messing with. There's just no doubt about that. And
I
then
tell
there's
the
other
story
people
about,
that I'm
yeah,
going to say no.
yeah. I tell the story about I was watching a ghost hunting show, and they were in Dracula's castle, and they were provoking. And I was sitting there going, yeah, this is the guy who impaled people on spikes for pleasure. And
Yeah,
you're going in there demanding that he talk to you, and he's probably like going, oh, yeah, right, kid.
Well, it's not
You
like you
know,
could understand if they were in English, so yeah.
oh, very
it's
true. Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's always tickled the heck out of me. You know, you go to a location where you know perfectly well that hundreds of years ago, they wouldn't have known English from Chinese or Japanese or, you know, whatever. They wouldn't have known what the heck you were saying because it was a foreign language. So it just really gets me sometimes when they go to these places and they start demanding that they talk to them, and to the spirit, they're speaking gibberish. You know, and you might as well be speaking pig Latin to them. You know? And so I don't think that it's necessarily that a person can be repellent to a spirit. It just might just be your attitude. You know, if the spirit just picks up on the feeling that you're either going to be demanding or you're just not going to believe, you know, even if they show up to you, your first reaction is going to be, all right, where's the projection? Where's the projector? Where's the mirrors? You know, they're still not going to believe. So the spirit's going to say, why bother? Why am I bother going to, you know, to exert any energy to show myself or to let myself be heard if you know perfectly well that this person is just still going to find some reason to dispel that? You know, they're going to debunk it. Why bother to spend the energy?
Well, Tabby, there's also those people living people that seem to suck the energy out of a room. And, you know, from my standpoint, I wonder if even the spirits are going, you know, don't, yeah, I don't want to be part of that vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. I don't know if any of you have ever watched it. There was a movie and then they made it into a series called What We Do in the Shadows.
I love that show.
And there is, except for, I think there's three vampires, but then there's one actual human, but he is what they refer to as a psychic vampire, where he feeds off of people's, you know, energies. He's definitely human, but he feeds off of psychic energies instead. And that's kind of, I think, what some people just might well be, whether they, you know, do it intentionally or not. They just have that kind of energy about them that they, like you said, Barbara, they walk into a room and your first reaction is, ugh. You know, you can tell by the look on their face, you can tell by their body language, or even something that just comes right out of their mouth. And your first thought is, okay, where's the kitchen? I need a drink. You know, because if I got to be around this person for the rest of the night, forget it. You know. So yeah.
I have to say, though, I always think it's funny that the vampires always refer to him by his full name. You know, just Colin Robinson.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So who's to say that once we die, we may not have that block anymore? We might be able to understand all languages.
I've heard some people put forth that theory. And I had one person that actually kind of said this to me. I'm not a religious person or anything like that, and I know probably, you know, very little about a lot of the scriptures in the Bible, both New and Old Testament. But when it comes to the Tower of Babel, the fact that supposedly originally everybody spoke the same language until they made God mad, and he said, okay, that's it. I'm going to make sure that nobody can understand each other because you can't get along. So if you can't understand each other, then forget it. I'm just going to make sure that you can yell at each other, but you can't understand each other. And I've had one person put it to me saying, well, once you pass over, then you no longer have that babble anymore. We all speak the same language again. I don't know. Maybe that's true. Eventually, I guess I'm going to find out.
Yeah, they may not let some people do that, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I would rather not understand.
So, in Gettysburg, those little souvenir stores downtown, is most of those closed, or they still have them open?
Oh, they've got them open.
Really?
Yeah. The last time I was up there, there's still a lot of people. I mean, people don't have much else to do, so they're going all kinds of places.
Wow.
So it's definitely open. And when I went down to Antietam for the battle put my dentures back in and try this again. When I went down to Antietam for the battle anniversary, then there were tons of people. I mean, there were all kinds of tour buses. The place was crowded as the dickens. And I was really surprised that many people were showing up on tour buses, masks and all, to get a tour of the battlefield. And there was a couple of places that I went, like the Sunken Road and the Burnsides Bridge, especially. You couldn't even find a parking space. People are still out.
And they wasn't practicing.
They need something to do.
They wasn't practicing safe distancing. Were they wearing masks?
They were wearing masks, and evidently the tour buses and everything were only like maybe a third capacity. But there were still a lot of them, and the park rangers and the tour guides and everything, they were all, standing at a distance, especially outside, talking about various different things. But no, those places are still having a heck of a business down there. They almost have to. People are wanting to get out, regardless of what's going on.
Well, I'd have figured that some of them places, because they're small to start with, and you start having people come in, you surely aren't safe distancing, that's for sure. So that's what I would have. That's what I would have figured, but
they make a buck. That's what they got to do. They've got to make a living. They got to make a buck. The restaurants are open. They try to put as few people as possible in there and social distance and everything. But Gettysburg is a business town, and if they don't open their businesses, they don't make money.
Well, I know I've seen different posts from places about conventions. Or if they had still some conventions there, and if they did, what kind of attendance did they have?
As far as I know, I don't think they had any like para-conferences or anything like that this year. That was the one thing that they did not do. I don't know if that had to do with the county or the state or whatever, based on the number of people that would normally show up. But I was talking with Tina Marie Thursday night, and she said that while she had been invited to attend a number of Paracons and so forth, that she decided it really was not worth taking the risk, as much as she wanted to go and be with her friends and be with people and everything, it was still not safe to do. And I don't blame her. I'm glad that she didn't.
Yeah, we had one at Post Town, and I went on the Saturday with Mark, and we sat at our table. Of course, wasn't selling anything, and you might have had a handful of people come through, but the place, there was like 3 or 4 different floors where people set up, and some people had like 3 and 4 tables full of stuff, but they wasn't getting any customers. I mean, we was gone early afternoon, but people was wearing masks. They did do that, and the tables were apart, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I got to talk to a few people, but that was it. And but I don't think that I would be going to any of the big ones right now.
No.
Yeah, it's just
Especially not the indoor ones.
Yeah, it's just not.
The indoor ones, I think, would bother me. I went to an outdoor one a couple of weeks ago. They had one in Martinsburg, West Virginia, a couple of weeks back. And you're not going to believe this, but it was actually held in a cemetery.
Really?
Yep. The cemetery and the local animal society were holding this event. All the proceeds, the door, you pay at the, not at the door, but at the table. All of those proceeds to enter were divided up between the cemetery and this animal shelter, which was a nice cause. But what was strange is that all of the vendors were literally set up on top of graves. And this is a very old cemetery. I'm talking about graves that dated back to the 1700s. There were very few modern ones there. The majority of them were, I think, most of the oldest ones were dated back into the 1970s. But they went all the way back to the 1700s. It was that old. And they had a huge mausoleum there. And they actually had it open where people could go in there. But all of the vendors were, at least 10, 12 feet apart. And there was only one vendor there, I think, for food. And if you needed to go to the bathroom, you actually had to go inside the groundskeeper's house. They opened up the bathroom so that you could use the bathroom there. But all of these vendors and everything, they were literally set up on top of graves.
Wow. And
the whole time that I was walking through there were so many of them, so many spirits that were, and this is unusual because I usually don't pick up on a lot of spirits in a graveyard, but there were so many of them there that were so angry that this was going on. I mean, they were really upset that this was going on. And I was talking to these 2 sisters that had their own paranormal group, and they had a spirit box going so that people could hear, and that thing was going off big time. And it was chattering away, talking about how angry they were at people being there. And I was talking to this one woman who I'd met a couple of times before at different venues, and she was saying that she was finding it rather difficult to concentrate when she was doing her card readings because these spirits were just bombarding her with anger.
Wow.
At what was going on there. So I doubt that they're going to be having it there again, because most of the people that were sensitive to what was going on, they were like, I don't like this feel. No. I mean, they literally set up right on top of the graves.
Why?
It was horrible.
Why would somebody want to go to a venue like that?
Thrill seekers.
Hmm.
Hey, we're having a paracon in a cemetery. And that's exactly what people did. And there were people sitting on the concrete side rails where the cars actually, probably a long time ago, it was just carts, wagons or whatever that would
Right.
just go through there because you're just big enough for a Volkswagen.
Oh.
And they were just literally sitting there eating their food and everything amongst the headstones.
Wow.
I'm like, well, I know that they used to have picnics back in the Victorian times in cemeteries, but that was usually for their own relatives. But here they're sitting there eating tacos around strangers. I was not comfortable. I mean, I bought some really wonderful stones while I was there and an interesting book, but I would never do that again. I would never go back into a cemetery in a venue like that. It was horrible. I was really creeped out.
I don't think I'd need to go there to see dead people.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope, saw them everywhere. It was not cool.
Yeah. Hmm. Wow. So, I know you are now member of a show on ParaX. Won't you tell people about your show?
Yeah, I'm now part of the ParaX family and very darn proud of it. Beginning in July of this year, I became the co-host along with Tammy, aka Psychic Little T, on the ParaX radio show called Journey into the Light, Chapter 3. And it airs every Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It comes on right before Marla Brooks, and every other Thursday it comes on just before Tango and Friends.
Very good. So, why is it called Journey into the Light 3?
Well, before I became the co-host, Psychic Little T had another co-host. They created the show a couple of years ago, and they started out with Chapter 1, then Chapter 2. And when that other co-host left the show in July and I took over, it became Chapter 3. So it's just going on by the years that it's been on the air.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Gotcha. Which is pretty interesting. You've been having some pretty good guests.
Oh, thank you.
And
I'm trying.
So, good luck with that in the future also. We got... Now, what are you looking for in the near future? Do you see, well, I guess things until the COVID gets kind of like whittled down, they're not going to be opening up very much. And I doubt if anything else opens up this year, probably not until spring. Are you doing any kind of private investigations right now?
Well, I have done one private home investigation since, let me see, I did it back in May. And that was very interesting because I pretty much did it by myself. I was contacted by someone, and they wanted me to go through their home to see what was there. They suspected what they thought was there, but they asked me. And that was the last time that I had actually done a full investigation. I've got something lined up that I'm hoping will happen very soon, and that will involve Mr. Pat McCormick.
Right.
So between the two of us, hopefully we might be able to figure out what was going on. And I also hope to get back to Creekside Manor before it gets too awfully cold.
You say you like that place.
Yeah, especially right after the Halloween season. The energy just gets really intense because of all the excitement and everything. It's an interesting place. There's only one other place that I want to go back to, and that's also in Williamsport, Maryland. I've got to make arrangements again real soon to go back there. I can't divulge the location because it's kind of private, but I hope to get back there again real soon. But darn it, I'm missing you guys. And Henry, daggone it, I'm missing you.
Well, I'm missing being able to get out and do things too. I haven't been able to do anything for quite a while now. So, but I am looking forward to it. And hopefully, if they can get a vaccine for this stuff before too long, maybe that'll make it more safe to get out and actually start doing things.
Yeah. I'm sure that we'll probably still be wearing masks, as a precaution and everything. But as far as traveling and being around people on a regular basis, I'm kind of seeing maybe the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe around spring. Now, that is if people decide that they're going to, live with a little bit of common sense here. But, yeah, I'm hoping that that's going to happen as well.
Good, good. I tell you, Jeff, you still with us? Maybe. Jeff, you having microphone problems again?
Yeah, the moment you finished your question, I started answering, and then I look up and says, "You've dropped off." I'm like, "Oh, great." Just waited for you to finish that question, and then all of a sudden there's silence.
Well, I haven't asked you guys, but what is the COVID situation like around where you're at?
Well, for my area, we don't have quite the numbers that some places do, I guess because my county is a little bit smaller. However, my particular city, there's more cases. Mostly, and it's really sad to say that we've had quite a number of cases within our nursing and rehabilitation centers. And I think that was just simply because of, people going in and visiting and not realizing that they might be infecting people. But we, in this area, fortunately, people around here are taking the precautions. They are wearing the masks. They're staying apart from each other. All of the stores and everything are providing little wipes and, things like that. I carry them in my car. I have to because of my husband. But the numbers here aren't really as bad. Maryland, we still have the mandatory mask and so forth. We don't have all of the open things that a lot of states do. So I'm hoping that Maryland will come out of this a little better.
Yeah, I think a lot of the nursing centers and stuff, they kind of like have high cases in it. I would assume that a lot of it's due to the people being old and not necessarily in good health to start with, catch it pretty easy.
Yeah. In close proximity, very warm conditions, and the people that have to be with them on a regular basis and everything, and not realizing that they might be carriers, and that's a shame. You never know. You have no idea. This is a scary thing.
Wow.
And it kind of explains why abandoned nursing homes can be so haunted.
Could be.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I never thought about that. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Various diseases going through and wiping people out because some of these older nursing homes have lived through the 1918 flu, scarlet fever, polio, tuberculosis, a lot of various diseases that probably would have been nasty. And I bet you they didn't remove them from the nursing homes.
so is the COVID airborne? I mean, it comes out in droplets.
Yes, it's
or
a respiratory. Yeah.
Right, but how
It's
far
not,
does it?
it's, yeah, it comes through the exhalations, but it's not airborne in the way you mean.
Right.
Well, it can stay airborne up to what they're thinking now, maybe 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Wow.
Healthy by an airborne
Yeah.
virus.
Oh.
Yeah, if you've got a very humid or something like that, like where you have a lot of fog or a lot of humidity, that sort of thing, condensation that hangs in the air that's thick on a regular basis. I think that's probably why a lot of nursing homes still have it. Because, you're taking a lot of showers. They have to keep it very warm in these places.
Humidifiers.
And the humidifiers, everything that's going on. It's unfortunate that, they're getting it because they're in an environment where they have to have all of these things, but it's all of these things that are helping to spread it.
Wow. See, I didn't realize it stayed in the air that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little beasts can travel too.
Yeah.
Well, 6 to 8 feet if you're just talking. If you're screaming or sneezing,
Right.
it can go a lot further than that.
Huh. So, if
Always a
you're,
lot of fun.
that's why I wear masks anytime I'm out or go in somewhere. And I haven't been getting out a whole lot. I'll go to the store, gas station, stuff like that. But basically, we've just been staying home. So.
And everybody watch out because toilet paper is starting to go off the shelves again.
Yeah, I know. And every time I go to the store, I'm buying 1 or 2 packs of that and paper towels. So.
Yep, same here. And I've got a huge stockpile of Kleenex because when we ran out of toilet paper in our area, man, everywhere I went, I was grabbing Kleenex.
Wow.
Because I figured, what the
There you
heck?
go.
It's still usable.
Wow.
Necessity.
Yeah, and you
Yep.
wonder why the people that produces that stuff hasn't from the first time already accounted for it and been stockpiling or shipping it out to stores. And you go into a store and they got maybe 4 or 5 packs of each thing on the shelf and that's it. And you wonder why. I mean, this is a huge store. You know how the business that you do, where's it all going to? They aren't even getting it in to start with.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's a racket.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. I want to thank Tabby Cat for being with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll give you a minute here to tell all about how people can follow you and all that stuff. But next week we have Elaine Kuzmeska going to be with us. And
Cool.
she's going to be giving predictions on the upcoming year, and she'll probably do some readings. I can't guarantee that, but most of the time when she comes on, she'll do 3 or 4 readings. So join us for that. With that, Tabby, why don't you give people information all about your show?
Okay, it's called Journey into the Light, Chapter 3, on Thursday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can reach us on our Facebook site, Journey into the Light, Chapter 3. If you want to contact us to be a guest on the show or any kind of questions, journeylight@gmail.com. And my book, My Life Amidst the Paranormal through Haunted Road Media, is available on Amazon.com.
All right. With that, it's just about time for us to go. And I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight, those in the chat room and those listening from around the world. So with that, until next week at the same time, this is Henry Foister.
Jeffrey Gould.
And Barbara Duncan.
And we will see you next week at the same time. So good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal